You're watching SA Today. Now, the Fundi Education Forum 2018 gets underway in Sandton today. Former heads of state, educators, business leaders, students and innovators have gathered in Johannesburg to look at ideas to educate Africa for the future. Well, joining us now, who's there live, is our reporter Nthakoana Ngatane. Nthakoana, thanks very much for joining us. Take us through what this gathering is all about and what they're hoping to achieve.
Education, the Fundi Education Forum, and the aim really this year is to, as they say, disrupt African education, and it is to come up with solutions to the challenges that education faces on the continent. But let me talk to the marketing manager of Fundi, and that is Mala Surya. Now Mala, tell us about this year's theme of disrupting education on the continent.
I think, disruption's happening in every industry and the education sector is not immune to it. Fundi plays in the financial services, technology and education space. It is being disrupted and all of this is enabled by technology. So we want to showcase that technology is enabling new solutions for how education is treated across all sectors, whether it's primary education, higher education or post-higher education. So that's why the theme, Disrupting African Education, a different way of learning really.
Now, we've seen the people that you've brought together, former Public Protector Tulima Donsela, former President Kgalema Motlanthe. We have also seen on that list businesswoman Wendilo Habe, former Presidents of Tanzania and Prime Minister of Kenya. How do you select the people that come together at this forum?
Yeah. So this year we wanted to, the whole theme for this year in Disrupting African Education is to showcase that there are solutions across the African continent. And what we wanted to do was bring a genre of different eras of speakers. So the former presidents, we wanted them to really reflect on the past and say, what could they have done better to bring and enable solutions for African education? If you look at the business people, we said in the theme of disrupting African education, tell us about now. Tell us how you will bring in new skills into the workforce, how the education of the new world is going to impact business today. How will that feed a productive workforce? How will that feed a productive economy? And then we've brought in very young African innovators, entrepreneurs. And I think this is a recipe for very dynamic and disruptive conversation for the now, the future, which is the innovators, and the presidential panel, which is the past and reflecting on it. I think this will give us a good feel for where we placed across the African continent with regard to solutions for African education.
And of course, one cannot underestimate the value of education, because we only saw last week when President Cyril Ramaphosa hosted the investment conference when Jack Ma from Alibaba was here, and he said one of the most important things that should happen is education. And of course, we're not only talking education, we're talking education in the fourth industrial revolution. And we see that some of the people who will be on this panel is young people who do coding.
Exactly, and that's the whole point, to showcase that coding, robotics, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things is real and it's happening. If you saw outside, we have physical products that the young innovators are bringing into the classroom today. So the whole world of how education and learning is working through the era of the Industrial Revolution is actually real. It's not theoretical anymore. It's not academic anymore. So everyone should be here having this conversation about disrupting African education through technology.
Thank you very much. Mala Surya is the marketing officer of Fundi, the organizers of this disruptive education conversation that's happening here in Sandton. And of course, it gets underway in just under, I think, 20 minutes from now. And as I said, Peter, we're expecting very big names to sit on that panel there. They come from all over the continent and they've achieved various fields across the education as well as governance on the continent. And so that will be in conversation, and we expect expect very much to hear what they will have to say about disrupting conversation or disrupting education on the continent. Peter?
All right, sounds fascinating, Nthakoana. We'll try and cross to you again a little bit later on just to see what's been coming through on that very important gathering. That's our reporter there, Nthakoana Ngatane, in Johannesburg, live as former heads of state get together to talk about disrupting education, particularly for the future.